More than 900 people were dead. Men, women, children, entire families. And the person responsible wasn't a dictator who invaded their country. He was a preacher. His name was Jim Jones. But here's the terrifying part. Many of the people who followed him didn't think they were following a monster. They believed he was saving them. So how did one man convince thousands of people to trust him and eventually follow him to a remote settlement in Guyana? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Jim Jones built his reputation as a charismatic preacher in America. He spoke about equality. He promised to help the poor. He welcomed people who felt rejected by society. And for many of his followers, he wasn't just their religious leader. He was someone they believed truly understood them. His community grew, and as more people joined, his influence became stronger. But behind the inspiring speeches, something darker was developing. Jones began demanding more loyalty, more control, more trust. His followers were encouraged to put the community above their individual lives. And then came the biggest decision of all. Jones wanted to create a perfect society, a place where his followers could live together, away from the people he claimed were trying to destroy them. That place was in Guyana. They called it Jonestown. Hundreds of people left their homes. They left behind friends, families, jobs, and the lives they had known. They traveled thousands of miles, believing they were building a better future. But once they arrived, the dream began to change. Jonestown was isolated deep in the jungle. There were no easy roads out, no nearby cities, no simple way to return home. And slowly, the outside world began disappearing. Jones became more powerful. His followers became more dependent on the community, and leaving became harder. Then, rumors began reaching America. Some relatives claimed their loved ones were being held against their will. They said something was terribly wrong inside Jonestown. The American government started paying attention, and eventually, a U.S. congressman named Leo Ryan decided to visit the settlement himself. He wanted to see what was really happening. At first, everything seemed fine. People smiled. They told visitors they were happy. But then, something happened that changed everything. A few residents secretly passed messages to Ryan's group. They wanted to leave. Suddenly, the perfect community didn't look so perfect anymore. And Jim Jones realized the outside world was about to discover the truth. But what happened next would turn a remote settlement in Guyana into one of the darkest stories in modern history. By now, Jim Jones knew something was going terribly wrong. Congressman Leo Ryan had arrived with journalists and relatives of Jonestown residents. At first, Jones tried to make everything look perfect. People smiled. They told the visitors they were happy. But behind those smiles, some residents were secretly desperate to leave. Then a message reached Ryan. "Please help me leave Jonestown." One message became several. Suddenly, Ryan realized the situation was far more serious than he had imagined. People who had seemed happy were quietly asking to escape. And Jim Jones knew if they left with the congressman, the outside world would hear their stories. The truth about Jonestown could finally come out. Ryan agreed to help them. The group prepared to leave. But as they headed toward the airstrip, the situation became dangerous. A group of armed men arrived. They attacked Ryan and the others at the airstrip. The congressman was killed. Now there was no going back. Back in Jonestown, Jim Jones gathered his followers. He told them the outside world was coming for them. He claimed there was no escape, no future, no way out. But this wasn't the first time Jones had talked about death. He had been preparing his followers for this moment for years. He had created an environment where his words carried enormous power. His followers had been isolated. They depended on the community, and many had become convinced that leaving meant danger. That night, Jones told them it was time. Some people resisted. Some were terrified. Some begged for their lives. But the pressure inside the community was overwhelming. And then, the final tragedy began. More than 900 people would die that day. Among them were hundreds of children. The world was horrified. But even after the tragedy, one question remained. How could this happen? How could one man gain so much control over so many people? The answer isn't as simple as saying, they were foolish. Many of the people who followed Jones were ordinary people. Parents, workers, families, people who had wanted something better. They had trusted someone who promised them a community where everyone would be equal, a place where they would be safe, a place where they would belong. But that trust slowly became dependence, and dependence became control. The story of Jonestown isn't just about one terrible day. It's about what can happen when a person gains complete control over a group, when people are isolated from the outside world, and when questioning the leader becomes more frightening than obeying him. But there is still one question that haunts the story. Before that final day, there were warning signs. There were people who tried to escape. There were relatives who begged the authorities to investigate. And there were people who saw what was happening, but couldn't stop it. So why didn't the world intervene sooner? And Jim Jones knew the outside world would soon discover everything. Back at the settlement, Jones gathered his followers. He told them there was no escape. He told them their enemies were coming. And then he began convincing them that death was the only way forward. But this wasn't a decision that appeared out of nowhere. For years, Jones had created an environment where his followers depended on him. He controlled their information. He isolated them from the outside world. He convinced many that leaving would mean losing everything. And when people are surrounded by fear, sometimes the person creating that fear can also become the person they believe will save them. That was the power Jones had built. And now, he used it. Some people resisted. Some were terrified. Some reportedly tried to escape. But the community was surrounded by pressure, fear, and confusion, and hundreds of people were caught inside it. By the end of that day, more than 900 people were dead, including hundreds of children. The world was left shocked. But the tragedy didn't end with the deaths. The questions remained. How could so many people follow one man this far? How could an entire community become so isolated? And how could warning signs be missed for so long? The truth is, there wasn't one single moment when everything changed. It happened slowly. First came trust, then loyalty, then dependence, then isolation, and eventually, control. That's what makes Jonestown so disturbing. Because the people who went there didn't begin their journey believing. They were walking toward death. Many believed they were building a better life. They wanted community. They wanted equality. They wanted somewhere they belonged. And that's what makes this story so frightening. The most dangerous form of manipulation doesn't always begin with someone telling you to follow them. Sometimes, it begins with someone telling you exactly what you want to hear. That they understand you, that they can protect you, that they can give you a better life. And little by little, you stop listening to everyone else. Until one day, the person you trusted most is the only person you're listening to. Jonestown remains one of the darkest examples of mass manipulation in modern history. Not because more than 900 people suddenly lost their minds, but because it shows how powerful fear, isolation, loyalty, and psychological control can become when they are combined. And perhaps the most disturbing question isn't, how could they follow Jim Jones? It's this. If you had met him at the beginning, before you knew how the story would end, would you have recognized the danger?